Hi, this is Shui with a review of a Korean movie titled Extreme Job or 극한직업, one of the few instances where the title is directly translated and it makes sense and it doesn't look too over the top or too shabby or not very in tune with the context of the movie, because we see that a lot happening a lot for Korean films. This was directed by a very young director, Lee Byung-hun. Uh, some might call him Byung-hun Lee, so not to get confused with the actor who goes by the same name, who has the same name. For Korean actors and directors, let's just write your name as it is. People are sensible enough around the world to know that our surname starts first, not the other way around like American names. So if you go with Byung-hun Lee, they would think you're Mr. Byung, not Mr. Lee. And if you look at sports jerseys, uh, American athletes, you can go with your surnames, the Jordans or Barclays. For Koreans, our names are more less common than our surnames. So let's stop putting our surnames at the back of the jerseys, because we're gonna have 1,000 Kims and 1,000 Parks and 1,000 Lees. So please stop that. Well, the movie, it's the basic premise is about a group of police officers. They have a team that's dedicated to narcotics, cracking down drug rings or drug smuggling operations. But the team has not been very successful. It's a ragtag team of lovable misfits, a la Police Academy, a little bit less over the top. All the characters are 1.5 dimensional, but they're relatable and likable. Ryu Seung-young plays the main character, the captain of the lot, who feels this responsibility of having to step up to make sure his team doesn't get left behind or get disbanded altogether. Fortunately, they land an important tip, and they find out that there's a very big operation going on in this particular building, and right next to the building is a chicken restaurant, a chicken chain. They hide there, pretending to be customers, and keep a watch out for things going on. And unfortunately, they can't keep that up forever, because the chicken owner wants to sell the chain, reflecting the harsh reality of Korea, with so many people starting their own business, starting their own little chicken chains or whatever restaurants or businesses, and failing. Many small businesses failing in Korea because too many people are jumping into that realm, and many of them are underprepared, and the competition continues to go up with more people retiring early. Anyway, so what they suddenly come up with is to try and maintain the chicken store so that they can maintain the cover while staking out and monitoring the drug organization, the drug dealing organization. But of course, in the process, the captain ends up pouring his pension to buy the chain. So it's it's risky business for him. If this operation fails, he doesn't know what to do. But anyway, the interesting part is they try to keep a low profile and just continue this stakeout operation, but somehow they get customers and they need to sell chicken. Then they end up coming up with their own chicken recipe and selling it, and it turns out to be incredibly successful. So now they have this happy dilemma of having a very successful chain chicken restaurant. But then, of course, we can't forget the fact that they are staking out. So there's still the police investigation and undercover activities involved, and the personal trials and tribulations of the characters. They all add up to a nice little comedic romp, if you might call it. The actors are great. Ryu Seung-young, Jin Sung-gyu. Jin Sung-gyu is in a lot of movies. You could play the Kevin Bacon game with him in Korean movies these days. Lee Han-hee, who is a beauty pageant contestant. I don't know which one that you won, but I'm sure it was a pretty international one. She actually shows up in a very tomboyish look without makeup, using a lot of swear words and playing tough, but she's just adorable without trying to be. So big ups for that. The comedic elements are good. It reminds me of films by David Zucker, where the philosophy is for the actors or characters to not think that they're being funny, but that they're being serious, but the situation itself is funny. And there are many situations like that. And at the same time, the conversation, the dialogue, probably not exactly entirely written by the director Lee Byung-hun, but he probably had a hand in it, because he has demonstrated amazing comedic timing in terms of the dialogues, the snappy dialogues. And there is slapstick comedy, but it's just a nice little bowl of a heartwarming story that Koreans can relate to, with good pacing, good characters, and some various comedic elements and even action smothered around it. The action sequences, you suddenly make this dramatic transition to really cool action scenes, and since they showed that it can turn around and these people are police officers and they can get the job done. Let's not dwell on that too much. It feels like the director wanted to display his prowess in filming action scenes, and it kind of dragged on a little bit too much. So perhaps you could tone it down on that. And the main villain, he turns out to be someone who is a little quirky and funny with a sense of humor. But of course, you can tell he's bad to the bone. But there didn't need to be some blood and gore involved in terms of him teaching his henchmen a lesson. That scene could have been excluded, because this is a movie that could have been enjoyed by maybe not the whole family, but if your kids are 12 years old, or just PG-13, something like that maybe. It also has an interesting element in it about how whatever profession you're in, even if you're a police officer, it's not about how well you do your job or how dedicated you are to the job. It shows others who are less talented, who just play good office politics, get a leg up and continue to prosper and thrive and get promotions. While this particular individual, who is very hard-nosed, dedicated to his job, takes care of his team, but only his team knows what he's all about and what he's capable of, and how devoted and talented and dedicated to his team and to his craft he is. So yeah, that's life. It's not always fair, but that's just how it is. And they do wrap things up with a nice little happy ending. But of course, there are prices to be paid along the way, and it's demonstrated in a lighthearted fashion. In terms of overall comedic value, I would say the previous work by director Lee Byung-hun, which is called What a Man Wants, or Baram Baram Baram, it says cheat 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 3 times. So it's about infidelity. It's comedy. It's about how people get distracted and how it's only human to be that way. But here in Korea, it's a huge taboo. People are very conservative that way. We even had a law that was recently changed. Up until a few years ago, infidelity or cheating was considered illegal. It's forbidden by law, so you could get into a lot of trouble if someone reports you. That's how serious it is in Korea. And we also had this Me Too movement catching a strong momentum here in Korea. So when you talk about men getting distracted, cheating, yeah, the movie's not gonna fly. But if it weren't for the social climate or temperature during the time when the movie was released, What a Man Wants would have been a very good movie with good comedic elements and comedic dialogues and comedic timing. So Extreme Jobs, a little bit less successful in terms of delivering the laughs or getting the pace or tightening it up together, but yeah, it struck a chord with Koreans. That's what works. For overseas market, with the subtitles, with the wordplay, and the circumstances the viewers can relate to, I don't think it will be as impactful as it was in Korean. I saw the English trailers and got a translation. I mean, you just can't deliver the oomph that the Korean dialogue and the Korean lines have, unfortunately.